And I am really going to invite each of us just now to let go. So whatever you need to do in this moment, maybe just to move your body a little. Just exaggerate the breathing. Take in more air, more love, more space. And breathe out anything you're ready to let go of, any tension, any concerns. And we're going to have a couple of moments of silence just now to receive another couple of exaggerated breaths. Really breathing out what we don't want on the out breath. Really letting go. And it is in this intention of profoundly letting go and coming present to this present moment that we do ask, Father, Mother, God, for your love, your light, your sound. We ask that only that which is for the very highest good of all concerned here on this session today, and here with all those watching the recording. We do ask that all that take place be through the Holy Spirit, that essence of unconditional loving, that essence of the highest good. And we do truly just breathe out and allow ourselves to come present. In this moment, I'm asking everyone that's listening to my voice just now to call forward one dream. Let go of the mind and trying to figure out what's the perfect dream, what's the right dream, which dream does she mean? Just allow one dream, whatever dream pops in. So just relax and observe, wait, and allow one dream, something that you want, something that your soul is calling you forward into powerfully. Allow it to pop into your consciousness. And so for the next few moments, I'm really going to encourage each of us to really give ourselves this dream. Let yourself be aware of a specific moment in time where you're aware that this dream is realized. It's full, it's complete. If your dream is to allow a life partner, perhaps it's your wedding day, the first moment that you really feel completely relaxed, head over heels in love. Perhaps it's a business and you really receive the success, the fullness of your practice, your business. And I'm going to give us a few moments just to really feel, how does it feel now that this dream is fully awake, fully aware, fully alive in your consciousness? And I'm going to encourage you that if these feelings don't show up on your face in terms of a smile, or maybe relax your shoulders a little, but when you're really feeling and receiving this dream, just be aware of how it shows up in your physical form and just lights you up. Really allow that to take place. And so now just bringing that to completion. And this is the less fun part of this work, but I'm really going to call each of you and ask that each of you allow one of the misbeliefs that hold you back from really allowing, from moving, from showing up for this dream. What's one misbelief that you have that holds you back in some way, either consciously or unconsciously? but what's one misbelief that has held you back until now? And just be aware of that. And in this moment, I'm just going to ask that you have great loving and compassion for this belief. And I'm going to ask that you open in this moment that this misbelief was created by you at some point to protect yourself, to help yourself, to in some way serve you to maybe not get hurt or disappointed, but it really was created through a good intention. And while we don't have the time to work completely with it just now, the heart of all healing is to really bring in your loving and compassion for this lie, for this misbelief, for this mistake in perception. And so I'm just going to ask that you repeat this statement 3 times within. And it's simply, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that, and then you'll just insert your misbelief. And I'm going to give you a little time just inwardly to really feel that. So again, that statement is, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that, and you'll insert your misbelief there. Repeat that inwardly 3 times. Alrighty, and bringing that to completion. And so finally, we do ask that the source, spirit, that essence of unconditional love move in so fully into our levels of being, down through and into our humanity. We do ask that this essence of the highest good and of the Holy Spirit to fully serve us in clearing, healing, letting go of any of these misbeliefs. And we do ask that more than beautiful information and more than beautiful ideas for how to live our life, that we also experience great love and great compassion and great healing this morning. And we do that really by letting go and opening our hearts and just doing our best to be alive and aware in this present moment, and really to allow the love that is always available in this present moment. For all this and so much, we give our thanks, and so it is. Alrighty. So I'm just going to ask that you maybe wiggle fingers and toes. Just do whatever you need to do to come back present with us just now. And I am going to let you know how to raise your hand. And if you're on video, well, actually, I think we're all on video, right? So if anyone at any time, as much as I have lots of beautiful things to share, and I really want to talk about me, my story, and how this works for me, I do also really want to have the sense of as much of a conversation or a connection or of intimacy. So if I do share something and you're like, wow, that just does not land, or I don't get what you're saying at all, it may not be easy, right? But I really encourage you to put up your hand, and I would like to speak to you in that way, and to the group maybe too, if it's also on other people's minds, just more specifically. So I'm just throwing that out there. There is no obligation or nothing that you have to do in this way. But I invite you to consider that this is a conversation in some way, and we definitely will have time for a couple of questions at the end. And we only have an hour, so I'm gonna jump into this. Well, it's just so lovely to see so many faces that I love smiling back at me. So I want to thank you for that. So my name is Zoë Lumiere, if I haven't shared that, and I wanted to start a little bit about my story. I'm really going to bullet point this because I really want to talk about the keys of how I believe we really step into this flow of grace, of manifestation easily by embracing our emotional imbalance. So I had been meditating, studying, actually traveling with a profound spiritual teacher, still my spiritual teacher, John Roger, for about 10 years. And I had a particular series of challenges, both emotional and physical, that I could not let go of. I meditated, I did all of these things, right? I was a good spiritual student, and for whatever reason, I was still bulimic. I was still overeating and not feeling my feelings, but throwing up. And I had this painful pattern of unrequited love. I was just always in love with someone that did not love me back. And so it wasn't until the bulimia got so bad that I actually was like, I need to go to rehab or to do something about it. And so that's when I enrolled in a master's of spiritual psychology. And I really opened to this incredible world of feeling our feelings and really receiving the specific next steps that they are to let go of the blocks to our dreams. So I'll talk about just one example of how I did this, just really practically and informally. So at the time, I thought I was too spiritual to have a husband. I definitely thought I was too spiritual to have a boyfriend. I thought I'd be single forever. I thought that was the most spiritual thing. And in doing this work and starting to feel some of my feelings, I became aware that there was a lot of unresolved pain from sexual abuse that I went through when I was very young, and just a lot of abandonment and rejection. And as I started to allow this into my consciousness, I did some of the healing that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I began to all of a sudden be aware of these wants, these feelings, this dream of, I do want intimacy, I do want closeness. I do want to go to sleep in the arms of someone that I love and just be able to share how much I love God, how much I love just this whole spiritual study that's the heart of my life. I wanted to share that with someone. And so I was presented with a problem, right? I didn't know how to do that. I all of a sudden really wanted it, but I didn't know how to do that. And so what came present for me, and this was really in terms of just intuition, inspiration that I got in my meditation, was that every time that you're upset, every time that you're out of balance in your life, really show up for that part, hear that part, love that part, show up for it, and do the technology that we'll talk about in a little bit, and do it so fully that you're letting go of any of the ways that you can't really allow in and receive love in your life. So at that time of my life, I was in love with someone that I was working with, and I was trying to not be, right? And so I would be hurt all the time. I would feel abandoned all the time. And so instead of feeling rejected or abandoned, instead of really blaming that on another person, I really began to let myself feel these feelings and really began to let myself give them a voice. So say, for example, if, and this person that I was working with was actually my boss, if he didn't appreciate what I had done, right, and just the feelings, the hurt came so present inside of me, so painfully, and my pattern at that point was to blame him, right? I didn't want to feel this, so what we do is blame, and psychologically it's now been proven that blame, the only function that blame has is to save us from feeling our feelings, is to dispel the energy that's too uncomfortable to feel. So I was in this very big pattern of whenever I felt unappreciated, unloved, rejected, abandoned, unseen, unheard, I would blame him. I'm like, you're so mean. You know, I would just be continually going, the problem's out there, when really there is no problem, but I had an opportunity. I had a little girl. I had parts of my experience that were deeply hurt and crying out for love. And I thought I was crying out for his love. But whenever we really allow ourselves to feel our feelings, and really we listen so intently and so sweetly, and we pretty, I have to say, easily become aware of what it is that we need. Maybe at that time I needed to be heard, or to be seen, or to be loved. But I really began to take responsibility for, okay, I can be the one that sees me. I can be the one that appreciates me for the work that I'm doing and how amazing I am. I can be the one that loves me and cherishes me and really is there for me. So without getting into too much of that, because it is quite a complicated let's say this, it can be a complicated technology, but the simplest heart of it is just that we show up and we love. We love and have compassion, and we forgive these feelings. So I did that for about 6 to 9 months, and I'm talking like a boot camp. Like, you know, a couple of times a day I would have hurt feelings. So I would really show up for myself, and I actually dialogued with myself. So the part of me that was hurt, right, I was just writing out, I feel like, you know, he's a bastard and blah, blah, blah. And then I would really show up for myself. Oh, I really hear you. That sucks. I really hear that. And then I would let myself get deeper and deeper into the feeling. And then the key in all of this, and actually I'm just going to jump into a little bit of how this works and kind of jump out of my story. We create moments in our life as a way to protect ourselves. So what the most profound thing that I do in my work, and what I'm encouraging each of you to learn to do for yourselves, is that when we're really triggered and in our challenge in a particular moment, if we allow ourselves to really feel that, let it come into our body, but then also be aware of what is another moment, perhaps a much earlier moment in our life where I felt exactly the same way. I came into this mostly through these experiences would pop in, right? When I was really embracing this hurt or this abandoned feeling, I wasn't premeditating this, but all of a sudden I would just have flashes, visions of when my mum died, or of when dad left. So I began to see, just through my own experience, that when we really allow this hurt that comes up in very daily, very practical ways, right? Maybe someone doesn't text you back, or someone at work doesn't treat you the way that you deserve to be treated, or you let yourself down by not really following through on something that's important to you, right? These small little challenges and hurts and emotional imbalances are everywhere. If we really embrace them, really feel them, make them important enough to really feel them, usually there is a source experience that will pop in. And if it doesn't just pop in, it's very simple to ask yourself, right? When is the earliest time that I've ever felt this way? So letting go of what's happening right now, but if I'm just allowing myself to feel like I feel abandoned, I feel completely lost, and like no one sees me, or like no one's ever going to understand me or really get what I'm saying, right? And to really be aware of what's the very first time that I ever felt that way. And then really give that smaller, younger version of yourself a voice, really let them speak. And then there are lots of different ways that I approach this. But the bottom line is to really hear and to ask, what is it that this part needs, right? When my mum died, and I started to withdraw from people because I started to buy into a misbelief of I would never be able to handle going through this kind of loss and pain and abandonment again, right? So I started to believe I can't go through this again, right? I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to be okay if I get close to someone again, because I'm not going to survive this pain. What I became profoundly aware of was that there were certain things that beautiful Zoe at that time just didn't get, right? And it's not the fault of anyone around me. Definitely isn't my fault either, because I was a little girl. There is anyone to blame. No one's at fault. But there is a profound opportunity to be aware of that little Zoe at that time. So that vision, what does she need? And it's really easy to find that out, because when you're connected emotionally to that experience, you just ask her, right? 7-year-old Zoe, like, what do you need, right? And if you're really allowing yourself to emotionally be vulnerable and connected, to really flood yourself in that moment with that loving and that compassion, it's pretty easy to have her let us know, I need to be held, or I need to know that someone's going to love me. And the challenging part of this work, and I'm not going to lie, this is a challenge, is that we are designed to want to get our love and to get all of these things that we think we need. Well, we do need them. The illusion is that we think we need them from another human being. And the profound reality is that the only person that can give ourselves these things is ourselves. And then once we're giving ourselves these things, once we're seeing ourselves and appreciating ourselves, not abandoning ourselves, right? Not ignoring us when we're in a challenging moment, because that's a great way to abandon ourselves. But in the ability of us giving ourselves those things that we need, the love, the support, the compassion, the forgiveness, the sweetness, the kindness. Once we do give ourselves these experiences and really put ourselves first, it is beyond miraculous that they show up in the form of other people and in outer reflections of your life. And it's a bold statement, right? And I don't know how this works perfectly, but I'm just going to share 2 miracles that happened for me, and really what prompted me to do this work, because it was so coincidentally, crazily lined up that I had to be open to that there was something there, right? I began to do this work and to really heal this unrequited love, this bulimia. I did this work. I really began to love myself and really see myself, like really appreciate myself for the amazing job I was doing, and just to really love myself, hear myself, be there for myself. Within 6 months, I had allowed this incredible man into my life, and 7 months later we were married. I was single for 35 years, right? 35 years. I was 35 and had not been on a more than a second date with a man. So I take great counsel in that coincidence. And then a few years after that, I, of course, continue to do this work. I continue to listen to my feelings, embrace them, and really do this work. So the next challenge that I came up to, I was at a job and I didn't love it anymore. I just didn't want to go. It was a great job. I believe in the mission. It's still an organization that I love and support closely. But I was aware that I had a voice. I had all of these experiences I wanted to share. And it wasn't until I really began to feel the dissatisfaction in my job, really, because it's easy, right, to perceive it as a problem. Oh, you're bored, or you're being ungrateful, right? This level of dissatisfaction or just challenge or bad attitude, negative emotions that you have, like, what's wrong with you? Get a better attitude. But I really began to see, no, there were some feelings, there was some alignment here that really needed to be heard. And as I began to really embrace these experiences, I was really aware of how afraid I was of having my own voice, of having my own business, of really sharing my own thing. And I loved reading in so many of your forms just how profoundly on track it is for you at this time to really share your truth, to share your love through work, to really allow yourself the boldness and the courage to receive that you love and share it, and really be open to the abundance through that. And as I began to really show up for myself and my bad attitude, I began to see how profoundly I was called to share my voice, to really to let go of wanting to be told what to do, and to really be allowed to not to tell others what to do, but to really have my own direction, my own vision, and to tell myself what I wanted to do every day. And so when I started to do that, it was only a few months, and I had the courage to create my own practice. And then within a year, I had, I'll be bold, I more than tripled my income from my previous job, and it continues to grow. So I just want to take a moment to be present and to really connect with each of you, and to be aware if there are any questions in this moment. But I do have to say there feels like a bit of an energy, so I'm just going to keep rolling unless I see hands. I guess I'm just going to go back to one of the main questions that was coming up as I've been talking to people about my event next week. And it really is like, what's the point of healing our hurt? And like, isn't that going back into the past? And what about living in the present moment? So I really want to clearly bottom line how I see this. When we really allow ourselves to have a big dream, right? And that's not an easy thing to do. I really want to claim that. And I also want to encourage, even though this sounds kind of weird, right? If you're not feeling a little challenged to a lot challenged in a daily way, you don't have a big enough dream. Because when you come into alignment with your soul, and it's ready to really help you manifest the next incredible part of your service. And I do want to say, just because I feel such energy and connection with all of you, I'm going to be a bit bold in saying that it is God's Spirit's love that is just trying to come through us on the planet, right? It looks like, oh, we want this dream, we want this business so that we can do whatever we want, or we want a husband just for companionship, or just because we're sick of being alone, right? That may be true on an ego level, but that is not the greatest truth of why you're being called to receive this dream. Your soul is asking to expand more fully into who it really is, and God is asking you to be more of her love on this planet, profoundly, fully, and as much as we can really, really open, right? Like, what do I want to do? And I do have to say this, I love the way that our ego and our soul works very closely, right? For me at that time, really receiving a husband, it was the most spiritual thing I could do, right? I needed to let go of my blocks to intimacy. I needed to learn how to be vulnerable and courageous. I needed to learn how to receive love. But my ego and my lower levels also really wanted that, right? I wanted to be held. I wanted all of these things that this human form wants, right? So sometimes it looks like it's just these ego dreams. And I do think that there are, it is important to be aware that it's not just our ego that's calling something forward. But I just have the blessing most often, if not always, of working with people that have let go of that expression a long time ago, right? Maybe you know of some people in this world that are very focused on, like, they have to have a Mercedes or a Tesla, right? I think we're all on the same page that we're not really talking about those dreams, even though that might be a part of it. But the real dream is really about receiving the love that we are, sharing it through really receiving it and sharing it with the world. So going back to getting a big dream, I really encourage us to, as much as we can, really receive whatever dream, right, our soul is asking us to receive, to ask for, to hold in our consciousness. And as we do that, your life will present on a daily basis all of the beautiful challenges that will shine the light on any ways you're not yet believing that you can do it. So I'm going to say that a different way because it's a bit of a big idea, right? So if I'm really showing up for my dream and really going, God, I'm ready for this next level of abundance, for this baby, right? It's one of my biggest dreams right now. I want this, right? It's so interesting to me how any little argument with my husband or challenge in my work, right? Really, if I allow myself to feel and experience that emotional imbalance, usually, if not 99% of the time, it will really shine a light on some misbelief that I'm using to hold myself as unworthy of this dream. And I will be, there are a few, when I do one-on-one work with clients, it's a very intuitive process and it's quite detailed. I have written out a full blog post in terms of the 9 steps that I do with clients, and I'm happy to email that to you all because it is a little bit involved to get into. But the one thing that I do want to share with you that for me works for most challenges, and I've created a very cheesy little acronym to support myself in remembering it, and it's just to feel. FEEL. First one is to feel my feelings. E is to embrace my feelings, really let them in. Often when I'm challenged, right, I'm into blaming. I'm out here. I'm in the mind. My energy's actually out here. And I'm frustrated and I'll want to point fingers. Often the first step is just really allow myself to feel. And when I'm really embracing and letting them, it's actually very important to bring my consciousness and my awareness inside of my body. So I don't know if that makes sense to all of you. It's an experience that you'll have to go and get if you haven't had it, but just allow yourself to have all of your energy, all of your awareness actually inside your physical form, because it really helps to be aware of what you're feeling. Then the second E is to express. And now this is where I feel like I've really mastered this in working with my husband, because he and I do this together often. Invariably, I sound like a 3 or 4-year-old spoilt brat when I express my feelings, right? Let go of being spiritual, let go of being mature, let go of being an adult, let go of thinking you have the answer, right? All that you're asked of in these moments when you're doing this process is to feel your feelings. And often our feelings are irrational. They don't make sense, right? And really allow yourself to express that. So sometimes I dialogue that if I'm with myself and I let myself have at it, right? Like, it's so unfair, I blah, blah, right? Just express it, get it out, really express it. Or if you're doing this with someone, I do it with my husband. And feel free, right, to just use these 4 simple things to go through with a partner, with anyone. But really express it. If you were to really give this energy a voice, a noise, emotion, really express it. And then the L is kind of no prizes for guessing this one, but it's really to love what comes present. And there are so many ways that we do that. We can find out what it needs. We can really let it know and reflect back that we understand. We can forgive it. And in the 9-point process of this work, there are a bunch of more intricate ways to do this. But I genuinely believe that if we were able to let go of any limitation of how powerful our love was, and to really connect with this part that's hurt and just intuitively love it, right? And loving is an energy, loving is an action, not just the idea of loving it, but really like when you see a puppy or when you see a baby or when you see who you love, right? Like your whole energy field is love. Like that is a vibration, that is an energy. In those moments when you have this little part of you that's hurting, right? You have an opportunity to really flood this part with your loving, energetically, kinesthetically, and often there will be just intuitive ways that come present for you to do that. So sometimes I think I'm actually doing people a disservice in teaching them how to get into a methodology with this, because I do believe that each person has their own ways, right? When they're really connected to what's hurting and they really allow their loving to really go to that part, your loving may work for your soul in a very specific way. So I just really encourage you to be aware and open to what that is, right? I have what works for me, and I'm grateful that I've used it so much now, such that I kind of have a little roadmap in my head. But that your own blueprint, your own roadmap is available to you. It'll feel like you're completely lost to begin with, right? Because this is a skill, a muscle, perhaps, and maybe you have, but perhaps you haven't worked with a lot. But the more you do this, right, it just becomes clearer and you really learn how to bring your loving into this part that hurts. The world experts in this area and also my teachers in the Masters of Spiritual Psychology that I did, Drs. Ron and Mary Hulnick, they have a quote that I feel underlines all healing. And it simply is, healing is the application of love, of loving to the places that hurt. And I'm grateful to have figured out a lot of ways that I do this. But more than teach that, if I could inspire others into one thing, it would be to really just so fully be open to how does their loving work? How do they really allow whatever's imbalance needs love, needs to be seen, needs to be heard? And what's your way? How can you really profoundly receive your love? Because I'm actually super kinesthetic, right? So for me, it really works in terms of, energetically, right? It's like I really feel it. It's energetically. Dependent on how you're wired as a soul through and into your humanness, it could be very different for you. But I know if you're here with me now, just because I do have a really good sense of each of you, I do know that you know what love is, and I do know that you have a powerful connection to it. So more than anything, I really encourage you to, in a daily way, right, just be open to what's your way. How do you really receive and be that loving for yourself? I've come to a little bit of a pause, like a little bit of it just happens when I'm present. Just sometimes there's a little bit of a so I'm going to receive that for a moment. And if anyone does have a question, because it feels a little complete to me in terms of really what I wanted to share. So if there are any questions or any comments, anything that you're aware of, that you would be so bold to share with the group, knowing that this is not a confidential space, knowing that part of this will be shared online. And maybe you could be open to your question and your sharing actually be of great service to others beyond the people that are present. It would be a very bold move, but it would be a very expansive, courageous one. So I'm really open for any questions. But more than that, just what are you aware of? What's present? Is anyone game to really speak their truth, anchor an awareness that they have in this moment? And you can just put your hand up and I'll unmute you. Yeah, Becca.
Yeah, everything you're talking about is exactly like what my dream is to be able to like find this part of myself, because I haven't been able to access it.
Yeah.
And I am doing a lot. I'm having like anxiety and panic attacks because I'm holding back. Like my ego has this story, right, of all the stuff that protected me, which I'm aware of. And then now moving beyond it, where it's like, well, those old stories aren't real anymore. And my mind gets it, but my body's like, and so I'm being demanded of divinity, like, show up, open your heart. And I'm like, I feel like I'm driving a stick shift without a stick. And I'm like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Well, Becca, can I just like, congratulations. And I just so profoundly want to celebrate with you and for you the anxiety that's coming present. Because it is a profound gift, and it is the spirit wanting to stretch you out, right? When I resigned from my full-time job without one paid client, right? And I would be driving into my full-time job and I would have panic attacks so bad that I would have to pull over to the side of the road just to be with myself, right? They were my biggest healings, right? And I'm so grateful that I know that you will be at the event next Saturday. So we're going to really, each person is going to get to dive into this and really fully learn how to do this. But it was how fully I showed up for myself, really let myself like go down into the depths of what that was, right? Like get into my body and if this fear, if this anxiety, if this, right, in me had a voice, right?
Yeah.
What was it? And having the balls and the guts, because it's super irrational. It's super abstract, right? It's not clear like, oh, I feel hurt or I feel hangry. It's like, what's this? I don't even know what the F this would say.
Yes.
But just whatever we make up, whatever we like, when we try and just start learning to express it, it's amazing when we have our balls just to fucking say anything, weird, crazy things come out. Misbeliefs that are from very pivotal times in our life, and it's like, oh my God. And one of the big ones for me, actually, I'm so grateful to remember this in this moment, was that I thought that my mom wouldn't love me if I was more successful than she was. There was some part of me holding back that if I was more abundant or more successful than my mom, then that meant I wasn't honoring her. I didn't love her. Like, what the fuck? Like, she's passed, but I know she's in heaven wanting to me as abundantly successful. Consciously, I know that. Come on.
Yeah.
But when I was able to see that crazy misbelief and just go, oh, wow, no, mom wants me to be successful. I want to be. It was a massive shift for me. And it's all wired in different ways. But I do have to say, another one of the challenges is that we get so spiritually aware that we analyze our ways out of dropping in and being aware of the irrational craziness, because we're all crazy, right? Like we all are a human, right? We all have challenges. Like I don't care who you are, right? And I'm grateful to have known some profound spiritual masters on this planet at this time. And they also were human and were not perfect and had imbalanced emotional challenges. And it's just a part of being human. And the more we really let ourselves just go into the abstraction, just go into the feeling, it's amazing how we do learn to go, oh, wow, that's what I'm buying into. That's the misbelief that's holding me back from saying yes to my dream inside. And then simple self-forgiveness, right? I work best with, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief but there are lots of different ways to do that. The Ho'oponopono is incredible for that. There are a lot of different things, but statements of self-forgiveness and really just being that love and compassion to that anxious part.
Yeah.
That's, I also want to share, Becca, that it just sounded very clear that this is your timing.
Yeah. Oh, that is very clear.
How exciting.
Yes. Exciting and terrifying.
Exciting and terrifying, right? And the more energy that wants to come through you, the more terrifying it's going to be.
That makes sense.
And so surround yourself with people taking big, amazing steps like you are, such that we can all share the burden. And I think after an amazing trip to Canada a couple of weeks ago, just where there was a lot of collaboration and a lot of, I met Paulette there. I went to an incredible place called Grail Springs, and I encourage anyone to go there if you're ever in Canada. But just the power of women collaborating with each other and using our energy and like hearing, wow, you're taking the big steps and your shit's hitting the fan, you're freaking out as well. Oh, great. I can feel super afraid and I can keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. Right? So I am probably going to do a free Zoom kind of like club, maybe in person in LA, but also definitely on Zoom, just so that people with big dreams wanting to do this kind of work can show up in a free way. And I have some coaching groups to do this, but I am also very called to do this in a way that's just once a month, right? We can all check in. We'll have time to each share our dreams, how we're doing, and just feel the sisterhood and deflect. Actually, it will be all individuals, because men and women, we're all doing this work. For whatever reason, I mostly work with women, but there are some incredible men that I'm also working with, and I would love them, including my husband, to be a part of this. But they are all beings that are really embracing their femininity. Yeah. And this is going to sound a little bit weird, but I do often think it is helpful having men around sometimes, because we're all also being called into our masculinity, into really allowing ourselves to know what we want and to stand up and show up for it, not aggressively, not even assertively, but fully. Because, you know, masculine and feminine isn't really a function of man and woman. It is truly a function of just these beautiful energies we have inside. Anyway. Becca, thank you for sharing so much, honey.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being here, guys, because it's I'm not going to put it out yet because it's still coming clear, but I think I'm going to do something like this once a week or once every couple of weeks. Selfishly, I want to get some of this beautiful wisdom down to put on a YouTube channel, and to really just make these teachings available, to also allow myself to connect with new clients, new coaching, new group coaching clients. But first and foremost, to really, right, like I feel like this whole world works on this misunderstanding that our feelings are something that should be numbed and pushed under the rug, and that they're a problem, and that just positive thinking or just ignoring or avoiding them, they're so part of our juice and our spiritual curriculum. And so it is great service for me just to share and put it out there, and I don't think I could do it in this way without each of you holding for me and loving me. I really felt that and appreciate that. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Lovely being here. Bye everyone. Talk soon.